Hi guys, it's Hannah and today we're doing my November wrap up, which I read 10 books this month. One of them included a novella, but I'm counting it as 10 books. So let's just get right into it because we have a lot of books to talk about, and I read an entire series this month, which I'm obsessed with, which you guys have probably heard me talk about a little bit before. I feel like I read such good books this month. I genuinely liked almost all of them. I think there was about like 2 or 3 that I was a little bit on the edge about. Let's jump into it and talk about all of the books that I read this month. First up is one that you guys saw, which is There's Someone Inside Your House by Stephanie Perkins. If you guys want to know more of my thoughts on this book, you can go watch my movie and book reading vlog. Did an entire reading vlog and talked about it and gave like a 10-minute review or something like that. Then I watched the movie and talked about the movie and compared it to the book and like all of those things, how it was as a book to movie adaptation, how it was just like as a movie. Spoiler alert, I didn't really enjoy either that much. If you want to know more of my thoughts, you can go over there and watch that video. This is basically about this girl named Makani, and she has just moved to this southern town from Hawaii where something like horrific has happened. All of a sudden, there's a serial killer on the loose in this town. So it's also a romance, and it kind of just follows Makani following all of these deaths. It was okay. I don't like horror. It was okay. I think I gave it like 2.75 stars. I think I gave the movie like maybe 2. To me personally, I just did not enjoy this book at all. I think there were some good aspects to it. However, I think overall as a whole, it didn't do it for me. Some of the stuff that happened just did not make sense to me. The killer's motive did not make sense either. The movie tried to fix it, but it was just like stereotypical. It didn't really start the month off great, but I really wanted to do a book to movie review on this book, so I did it. I don't regret it, but I would not really recommend this book. Next are some books that I actually do recommend highly, which is a series I was talking about earlier, and that is the Natural series. I don't know if they necessarily have a series title, but there's 4 books. There's also a novella that I read in the back of this copy called 12, so I kind of count that as a 5th book. If you guys have not read this series, just do it. It's so good. I remember it going around when it first came out, like back in like 2012, 2013. I don't know why I didn't pick it up. I think part of the reason was like the covers. The covers now, they redesigned them like this year. Never really fully knew everything about them, but I would always see them around Barnes & Noble as they were coming out. Booktubers would have them on their shelves, but like none of them had really read them. So I finally picked them up because I was like, you know what? I'm really in this mood and I really want to read more like mystery, and especially because it's literally Criminal Minds but with teenagers, and I adore Criminal Minds. So this series, it was just so good. I think the only critique I have is that it should include a little bit more romance. That's it. That's like my only critique that I can think of currently. It was so gripping, so thrilling. The first book is The Naturals, then we have Killer Instinct, then All In, and finally Bad Blood, which this one also has I want to say it's like 200 pages of a novella called 12 in the back of this. So the first book is The Naturals, and this is basically about this girl named Cassie, and she gets recruited by the FBI to join this super secret program that they have of just like a ton of kids. I think there's like a total, I think there ends up being 4 of them. She gets recruited into it to basically help solve cold cases, but it kind of escalates from there. There's a lot of mystery and serial killers and cults and like craziness that happens. Everything is interconnected, so honestly I would read this series back to back or like fairly close, because stuff from the first book came up in the last book or like came up in other books. You literally fly by these so quickly. I read each of these maybe within like 24 hours for each one of these because I just flew through them. I adored them. You can go look at all my ratings. I'm not 100% sure what all my ratings are, but they ranged between 4 and 5 stars, so fairly high and very, very good. Jennifer Lynn Barnes also wrote the Inheritance Games, which I adored that series, and I read that, and I feel like that kind of just like pushed me to read The Naturals a little bit more. Read this book, highly recommend the whole series. I would just recommend reading them like all at the same time or around the same time so you don't forget anything. Next is another book that probably goes on my all-time favorites list, and that is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Posted. I read Geekerella by her and it was okay. It wasn't my favorite. This made me cry. It was just so good and written so well. This is basically a romance book about Clementine, and her aunt has just passed away. She was very, very close with her aunt, and she inherits her aunt's apartment in New York. She moves in, and all of a sudden she walks in one day and there's this guy standing there. She finds out that all of the stories that her aunt was telling was true, and this apartment is a little bit magical in the sense that there is a like 7-year time difference between, you could walk in the apartment in your day and age, or you could walk into the apartment and it be 7 years in the past, which is crazy. So you end up finding some crazy people and some things happening when you're trying to literally just go to your apartment. It's such a good book. I think it balances well between jumping to the past and the present, but weaving in their love story. It's just such a beautiful story. If you haven't read this book, read it. It's probably it's gone on my like one of my all-time favorites list now. When I put it down, I immediately wanted to pick it up again. I wanted to read it at like all hours of the day. The love interest was just so adorable and sweet, and you really got to see like how much time can change a person. I'll be rereading this fairly soon. Unfortunately, next is a book that I like enjoyed-ish. It was okay. It wasn't like my favorite book ever, and that is Begin Again by Emma Lord. I bought this because the premise sounded interesting, and I had read Tweet Cute by Emma Lord and enjoyed it. I picked this up after because I was like, I'm in a romancy mood, so hopefully this can fuel it. I don't have a whole lot of books on my shelves that I haven't read anymore. The romance was very sweet. I think aspects of it I did like, and then other aspects, I just think it was like a typical YA book. There wasn't really anything that just like jutted out and made itself unique. It just reminded me a lot of books that I've read before with like kind of the same premise. This is about this girl named Andy, and she transfers to like her dream university that her mom went to, who had just passed. She transferred because she also wanted to surprise her boyfriend. Her boyfriend ends up transferring to her community college and dropping out of the university she transfers to at the same time. So there's already some changes happening in the very beginning of the novel when she finds this out, that he tried to surprise her, she tried to surprise him. It just ended up horribly wrong. She doesn't really let it get to her. She tries to just be like, okay, well, you'll transfer back, and like they plan a whole thing or whatever. So in the meantime, she's trying to collect these ribbons because this school has like these secret societies that you can join. It's like all during freshman year, you have to like go like collect ribbons and like join these secret societies. Her mom was the founder of this like radio show that's like super secret, so she gets involved in that. She starts having feelings for her RA. It's a good college romance. I think it's just very basic in my opinion. I think it's a good time. It didn't really impress me that much. I don't regret reading it. I think it was fun, but it just wasn't my favorite of the month, especially after reading The 7-Year Slip. Andy wasn't my absolute favorite character ever. Some of the stuff she would do was a little bit annoying to me, and it just kept getting repeated and repeated and repeated that this one aspect of her is who she is. Next is a book by K.L. Walther that I just adore. I love her books so much, and that is Maybe Meant to Be. I finally picked this one up. This cover just is fall in a cover. We split POVs, which in the other two books that I read by her, she does not do at all. I believe this is her first book. It was like redesigned, and like the whole cover was redesigned, the title. I don't know anything else. I don't know if she like edited the book or anything, but this basically follows Charlie and Sage, and they have been best friends since they were very, very young. They are inseparable. The entire school, because they go to a private boarding school, the entire school is like, okay, they're gonna end up together. Like their end game, they will be together, because they just kind of have that relationship. They're very, very close, and they kind of act like they are in a relationship a little bit, but they don't have any romantic feelings. Charlie is hiding that he is gay. This boy named Luke, he transfers in, and Luke and Charlie end up starting to like each other, and the romance blooms. And then you also get Sage's point of view and her relationship with Charlie's twin brother, Nick. and how they're starting to like each other. They've liked each other for a really long time, but Sage just like won't let it happen. So it's really like following these two love stories along on their different paths and seeing how alike and how different they both are and how they affect one another. I think I liked Charlie's point of view more than Sage's. Sage just kind of got on my nerves with her reasonings behind why like her and Nick could never be together. The way she went about it was like not the best. It just was really heartwarming and I really did enjoy it. Charlie and Luke are so adorable. Sage was such a sweetheart and she's such a good friend to Charlie, and I feel like I didn't really get to know Nick a whole lot. I did a little bit and like he was definitely there, but he was not as prominent as Charlie, Luke, and Sage were. Moving on, we have Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. This is one of my friend's favorite books of all time, and I can see why. It was such a brilliant read. I think I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5. It was brilliant. It was heartbreaking. Hit me a little too hard with just like such a big aspect of this book on what happens towards like the latter half. It basically follows Sam and Sadie and their lives over like 30 years and how they became like game developers their entire time and their success story, and also just like their relationship with each other. And it's not a romance book by any means. It's just a story about friendship and how friendship can like fall in and out, and there's a lot of grief aspects to it, and it just was so heartbreaking, but it's a story that like so many people need to read. It switches points of views quite frequently between like everyone involved. It's not just like one chapter is dedicated to this person. It can kind of switch back and forth even between chapters and paragraphs. It did get a little bit confusing in just some points, but overall, the author did really well with not confusing it too much. It was so good. I just wanted to read it and keep reading it. I'm really glad that I read this month, and I'm really glad that I finally got this book because it's just one of those books that I feel like a lot of people need to read. It really shows how people react to grief in different ways. It shows like how different friendships can be and how it's not always sunshines and rainbows ever. So it's just a really good story about friendship and dealing with life. I really went into it knowing nothing besides it's like a story about friendship and games. So I honestly feel like that's all you really need to know. If you like fictional biographies and like stuff like that, I think you'll really enjoy this book. I really love those types of things on like people's like success stories and like seeing how they went from like point A to point B. Those are all the books that I read this month. I am so happy with all of them. There were 10, which is crazy to me. Also, I realized that my autofocus was going in and out and deciding when it wanted to focus on me. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in my next video soon. Happy December. Christmas is coming. I'm so excited. It's gonna be so good. I need to finish up my Christmas gifts. I just love gift giving. Gift giving is one of my favorite things of all time. So thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know if you read any of these books before and what your thoughts were on them. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in my next one. Bye guys.